Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome
Hi,
to
kids.
Bollocks this evening. How you doing, Mr. Remo?
I'm fabulous. Always when I'm with you, Blake. You know that.
All right, and what studio are we in?
We are in the Beaux-Arts Ford studio, people. You know that by now, but it's so much fun to say.
It definitely is fun. And actually, we have someone in for the 5 o'clock show.
We have a very special guest tonight. My friend Dan Tiant is here, and we're going to chat with him because today is reporting day for pitchers and catchers, and somebody knows a bunch about baseball, and it's my friend Dan. So we're going to be in business with that.
All right. That should be a fantastic interview tonight. But Lenny,
Hey, a bill?
I think we need to pay a couple bills first, though.
Okay.
So.
Well, we are very grateful for these people every day of the week and then twice on Sunday. Because for over 75 years, Beaux-Arts Ford Lincoln has been a trusted member in St. Augustine, built on family values, honesty, and doing the right things the right way. With over 1,200 vehicles to choose from, no surprise pricing, and the Drive Happy guarantee, Beaux-Arts makes car buying simple and stress-free. That's the Beaux-Arts difference. Their state-of-the-art facility features 91 climate-controlled service bays, quick lane for no appointment maintenance, and Ford's Garage restaurant right on site, just off I-95 and State Road 16. Beaux-Arts Ford Lincoln, they're driven to inspire. You know what would be nice? If I could get a Drive Happy guarantee when I play golf. I would like one of those for my golf game.
That'd be really great as well, Lenny. But Lenny, you can experience elevated Italian dining in St. Augustine at St. located in the heart of historic St. Augustine. St. blends authentic Italian flavors with modern sophistication, featuring handmade pastas, fresh seasonal ingredients, and classic dishes crafted with care. Guests can enjoy expertly crafted cocktails, indulgent desserts like house-made tiramisu, and stunning views from the second-floor balcony and rooftop patio overlooking the bayfront and historic skyline. Perfect for a date night or a special evening out. Say Italian restaurant where every meal is a celebration.
And I say try the Cacio e Pepe with their homemade spaghetti. It is a delicious dish. And then after you finish that, or actually before you do that, you should be coming from the Pirate and Treasure Museum, which is just down the block, where you can set sail for adventure at the St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum, home to the world's largest and most authentic collection of pirate artifacts. With over 800 real treasures across 40 immersive exhibits curated by Pat Croce and the Croce family, guests can see Blackbeard's original blunderbuss, gold recovered from the Queen Anne's Revenge, and one of the only 3 authentic Jolly Roger flags in the world. The museum also features a special exhibit highlighting pirates in the movies with props from films like Hook and the Pirates of the Caribbean, located in historic downtown St. Augustine, across from the fort.
All right. Since 2008, Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency, has been guiding St. Augustine through hurricanes, floods, fires, and more, led by longtime local Ashley Casey. This is insurance done the Brightway. No confusing jargon, no one-size-fits-all policies, just clear guidance, multiple quotes, and customized coverage that protects what matters most. With deep roots in the community and decades of experience, Ashley and his team makes insurance simple, affordable, and personal. Visit them on the island at 108 Seagrove Main Street or call 904-217-7547. Brightway, the bright way to do insurance. Now we do have some other fantastic partners that we need to shout out today. We got A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing, Anastasia and Moultrie Creek Diner, Synergy Power Solutions, Aber Kresge Associates, Powell Heating and Air, Meehan's Irish Pubs, 80 Davis Construction, St. Augustine Distillery, and Citygate Spirits. All right.
Okay.
Thank you everyone on Sponsor Row and across St. Johns County.
You have your paper clips? That's most important.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
See.
Go Meehan, absolutely. We're very fond of Meehan's. You know that. All right, so Mr. Tiant, you happen to have a business that is very interesting to me and quite possibly a lot of other people. You are, let me know if I'm phrasing this properly, you're a sports agent. Okay, and I think that's fascinating. I'm going to call you the anti-Scott Boras because you're a little bit more about the whole package and the whole picture instead of just his arm and how much money you can squeeze out of those poor kids. Because I know you well enough about that. And it is Aventus Sports Management. Youngsters out there, if you're a left-handed catcher, you're looking for work, or a 75-year-old left-handed reliever like Jesse Orozco, have I got an agent for you. Tell us what you do, Dan, and how do you handle this stuff? Blake is trash in the studio.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
It's always good hanging out with you guys. So what do? Basically, I represent pro baseball players. Right now, we deal with representing and also advising high school kids, college kids, to put them in the right path as far as once it comes to the draft time, make sure everything is taken care of as far as contract negotiations and their future. When it comes to high school kids, we try to put them in the right path as far as what's the right college for them, the right fit. Especially in today's game, we see a lot of transfer. The transfer portal's going crazy.
That's nuts. Yeah.
That's something I really disagree with. So
On board with that.
I try to make sure that the guys go in the right path, the right school, the right fit, so that we don't have to come across that problem. As far as pros, we deal with all their contract negotiations, endorsement deals, and just plan for their future. Make sure that they're established and don't have to worry about anything else other than playing baseball.
Right. And you grew up in a baseball household, and it was a whole different time back then when your father was pitching. And we'll get to your dad in a little while, because one of the thrills of my life was meeting your father. I mean, a real live freaking baseball legend right there in front of me at
Thank you.
Kaiser's Deli and Market. May that rest in peace, and so may your father.
Thank you.
And then you got to remember where my train of thought was going. But you're doing up and coming players. You're a talent scout. I know that as well. You mentioned the transfer portal. The NIL, it's not quite as prevalent that I don't know, and correct me, please. It's not quite as prevalent in the other sports as it is in football, but I'm sure that it is. The NIL for baseball players as well?
The NIL is not as prevalent yet. I mean, it's really more college football is the number one, college basketball number two. I mean, we do see several athletes that are getting into the $1 million range in sports, but those are just a handful of student athletes. Baseball's getting up there, but it's still nowhere near what you see in football and in college basketball.
And I know that you work with high school players and younger ball players as well. It's just, you know, the football NIL is trickling down into high school ranks as well.
It is.
And you know, I'm not a big fan of the transfer portal. I think it's changing the game and not for the better. It may be changing it for the individual players themselves, but for teams and the consistency of the game, in my opinion, I don't think it's great. And I think the NIL money is really kind of bastardizing the game as well, because, you know, people are getting a taste of money. You know, a high school child doesn't need, you know, to have the pressure of a $1,000, $100,000, $1 million contract when they're still trying to get out of high school. Their focus should be on getting your education and then your ability to play sports.
Correct.
So, you know, that's just my opinion for what that's worth. But, all right. So how many players do you have in your stable?
In our stable right now, we currently have 5 professional baseball players. I've cut it down. We had about 20 at one point. I like this number because it's manageable. I deal with my guys one-on-one, which is very important.
Right. You're hands-on.
Yes. I like to be hands-on with everything we do with them, from their preparation, their training in the off season, make sure that they're taken care of, make sure that their financial future is taken care of. So I really want to be hands-on with my guys and prepare them for that future. We do have around 10 to 15 high school, college athletes. We're preparing for the draft this year and also the next 3-4 years. So we have a top player this year who's hopefully should go in the first round. And we're really trying to focus on building them from the ground up. And that to me is more important right now, because I've seen that some of the players we have taken on, once they're already in the pro career, it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So some of these kids, you really try to take them on and teach them and help them out, but it just doesn't work that way.
Right. And as they get further up into a major league organization, whether it's, you know, whether it's A-ball or the majors, I would think that you might lose a little bit of control. But if these young men trust in you, they're going to stick with you. Because I noticed that when I was doing some deep dive on Aventus, the Aventus ASM, Aventus Sports Management, you've got affiliates that are financial management and other things. So you're helping these kids prepare for their financial future as well as just their career, their baseball career. And that's important, because we've all heard the horror stories of really well-paid athletes who, you know, as their career winds down, they're in poverty because they didn't either invest properly or they got taken advantage of by bad management. And to set these kids up with, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Major League Baseball and the NFL does classes for their rookies on financial management and things, so that these kids don't make the same mistakes that previous generations have.
They do. They're better prepared today. Even with that, they still you still see a lot of horror stories. We really try to focus on that, and I take a lot of pride in that because I saw my dad go through it. I was younger. I mean, obviously much younger at the time, and I understood a little bit of what he did, but I understood a lot of the financial troubles he had gone for a brief time because of people that would basically pull a fast one on him. So we try to prevent that. We try to teach our kids basically the rights, the wrongs, the do's and don'ts, and I align them with the right people and people that I know that I've built a relationship with, which is more important.
Which is great because, these young men need guidance, and the flash of a couple extra zeros on a paycheck or a contract can be enticing, I would think.
I always tell them that when you're at the top, everybody's going to love you. You'll see who your real friends are when you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And you try to avoid that, but you see that everybody wants a piece of you when you are at the top of the game. And that's the part that we try to really teach them and educate them that, it's a nice, pretty picture to see, but you really got to understand who your real friends are and who the people that are going to stand by you.
And you have to help these young men keep their feet on the ground because, their God-given talent is just that. It's a talent that can be fleeting. We've all seen some of our favorite baseball players and football players suffer a season-ending or a career-ending injury. So these kids have to anticipate the fact that there's no guarantee that their careers are going to keep going. So they've got to prepare for that, which is why, it's great when you see somebody come out of college and they're an academic All-American as well as, All-Pro or an All-American in their sport, as well as an academic All-American. That really is something to appreciate, the fact that they've taken their degree as seriously as their ball-playing skills. Okay. I also see that you stress a lot of community involvement with your players, and I think that's important. Tell us a little bit about that, would you?
I think it's very important. We're in a position now where athletes make so much money, and I do compare it to back to when my dad played. Salaries were completely different, so there was a lot more of a community feel where you can relate to an athlete. In today's world, you can't. When you're talking about $100 million, you can't really relate to the person next door. So it's important for us to get our guys involved in community relations. We want them to be a part of the community. We want the fans to feel close to them. We want the fans to have some sort of something in common with them at some level, just to even feel like they're connected. And it's very important. It's important for our players to never forget where they came from, where they can give back. And that's something that I was raised in. Those are the values that my parents and my dad raised me on. Being the son of a pro baseball player, you learn and you see everything that he did and how important he was to the city of Boston, all of New England, and pretty much nationally at some level with, his Latin American background. When you look at the Latin American community, and it's just a wide range, he never forgot where his roots came from, and he taught us that. And that's the things that my partner Omar and I try to teach our players. It's very important to give back, but never forget where you came from. Right. And it keeps them humbled, which is important. I think that's kind of a separation we're seeing in today's world with sports. These players are making so much money, which you can't fault them for that. It's just the name of the game. That's the business. But you still want them to have some sort of a link to where they came from, and that's very important.
Yeah, it really is, because in this day and age, everybody's got a backstory of some nature. And look, and to make it into the major leagues, it's a lot different than some of the other sports. I mean, now there's a developmental league and there's other leagues in basketball. Right. But in football, either you make it onto a team or you don't make it onto a team. There's not a whole lot, or you're going to Canada or you're playing in a hockey rink someplace, because there's not a whole lot of other viable options, though the USFL keeps trying to come around again and around again and around again. Canada's been established in the Canadian Football League, and the Grey Cup have been doing great for ages. But in the NFL, you're either on the team or you're not on the team. So the amp up there is a little bit more direct. In baseball, you've got, bus riding people in the bush leagues forever, because you've got A-ball, you've got spring training leagues, you've got Arizona leagues, and then you get into AA, AAA, and when you make it to AAA, you're close. you're close to that cup of coffee.
You're knocking on that door.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you know, the appreciation for people who make it through the early years of baseball, because everybody's not a phenomenon. You know, I noticed that you're working with a young man named Savion Sims.
Correct.
Okay. And I did notice that there's a comparison to Dwight Gooden.
There's comparison. Dwight Gooden is the one that they compare him the most to right now.
Okay.
There's a few others, but he's just a tall, lanky pitcher who's just releases. He's very loose, and I love seeing that on the mound. He's right now, at the age of 18, 19, he's phenomenal. So hopefully he continues this. And
All right.
he's a great young man.
As long as he doesn't turn out to be Sid Finch, we'll be fine.
No. No, he's a great young man, very hardworking, great family.
Yeah.
He's in Dallas, so he works over there with Omar, my partner.
Yeah.
And we're just expecting big things from him.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. And if he is if he is the next Doc Gooden, let him be a Met, please. You know, aim him in our direction. We can use all the help we can get these days.
We'll look and see what the draft board's like.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know that they've got choice. I think they keep giving away. I don't even know if they have a
do.
conditional.
I don't know if they do right now. We'll have to see.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking at Savion Sims' perfect game profile right now.
Yep.
Can you talk about like the differences that you've seen like the baseball recruiting like perfect game evolve over the years from like the early days to like what Savion's is going through right now? Do you, like what's like the one big difference that you're seeing with the growth in like perfect game?
I mean, it's listen, it just continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the scouting profile behind it is what's growing, and they're just more in tune with every player they have coming through their system. PBR is another one, but these scouting forums are way advanced.
Mm-hmm.
They really give you all the metrics of these players, a lot of video footage, and it's probably now considered the primary way to get seen by Major League Baseball scouts.
Mm.
You know, before it used to be in high school. Go to high school, you go to a summer ball league. Now this is kind of taken over as the primary way to have players get noticed, and it's very effective. Very effective with what they've done.
And expand on me, because Blake obviously knows what perfect game is, and I don't necessarily know that I do. So fill me in a little bit.
So Perfect Game is an organization. They basically run tournaments throughout the whole entire year. Summertime is their biggest time, but they have tournaments throughout Florida. Basically the whole entire country. And you see a lot of the travel teams, the top travel teams, go to them. And it's basically kind of like a tournament format. Just play games and have a lot of scouts there to basically observe these kids. They focus more on the top prospects that they know are going to be there, but it gives other kids an opportunity to be seen that probably have been slipping through the cracks.
Yeah, the odds of finding a farm boy somewhere in Nebraska in the middle of a cornfield who's going to take the world by storm is a lot harder these days, because you know everybody's on video nowadays. Whether it's mom and dad with a cell phone, or whether it's a scout or their coaches filming the games, you know, and going back and looking at tape, and nowadays, and how is let's expand on that a little bit. How has the advent of, you know, videotaping and sports medicine and anticipation, stuff like that, because now you start hearing stories about, well, his pitch angle was down a little bit, so we're raising him up. His step was a little short, so we strided him out a little bit. You know, the whole metrics and the science and technology about sports is changing by the day. You know, it's not like you just used to be able to sling back and hurl it.
Right.
Now there's, you know, arm angles and it's much more technical than it ever used to be.
It's a lot more advanced.
Yeah.
There's parts of it that I do agree with, parts that I don't. I'm a big believer that we still need to go with the old-fashioned methods, which is observation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for scouts to be there and see a player's makeup. How do they do on an 0-2 count? How do they do when they strike out? How does a pitcher do with bases loaded? That part of the game is still something that's within your brain, your heart, your insides. That's important. And it's scary that we're getting away from it and everything's becoming so, computerized now.
Right.
So there needs to be a balance with it. But it's it's crazy seeing the advancements we've seen on the technological side with launch angle, with exit velocity on a bat,
Right.
spin rate on a pitch. You know, I still look at a pitch, and if it's a nasty curve, it's a nasty curve.
Right.
You're looking at it with RPMs and the spin rate, and if it's above this number, the guy's major league level. And it's things that I'm still not used to. I know Omar is, because we have the facility in Dallas where that's part of the training that he does. But for me, I'm just watching a pitcher. Can he throw a strike? I don't care if you throw 105 miles an hour. If you can't throw a
Right.
strike,
If it doesn't go over
Yeah.
the plate, what good is
to
it?
me, we have to fix that. And that means you might have to drop down to 100 miles an hour or 98 and get the control and the accuracy first. That's a part of the game that's changed dramatically, where I still have a tough time adjusting to.
Yeah. Now with you managing and mentoring youth baseball players, there's been a lot of concern about youth pitching, like especially when it comes to youth pitcher injuries. I'm looking at statistics, and since the pandemic, there have been a 30% increase in arm injuries since 2020. What's like one thing that you're looking for when it comes to preventing injuries for some of your clients, or what's the main thing to help protect to protect your clients there?
That's actually a real good question. For me personally, is I go back to old school ways of listening to basically your elders, listening to people who've been there. You know, I think pitchers today, they are bigger, they're stronger, they throw harder. But pitchers in the 50s and 60s still threw in the 90s as well. They threw, and there's guys that threw in the hundreds. It's just learning how to pitch. So for me, it's discussing that with the players, and hopefully they understand and listen to us with the advice we give them. I'm not just an agent in this case. I also try to teach these kids the right and the wrong way. What's the right way of playing the game, and avoid the wrong way. Omar does the same. A lot of our pitchers luckily haven't been injured because we teach them the right way on how to properly pitch. I think when you start getting into curveballs, those type of pitches at an early age, that leads to a lot of injuries. You know, one thing my dad always said to me is, like, you can throw a fastball and you can locate it 9 different spots.
Well, he could.
Oh, he could, exactly. You know, and all he needed was a fastball and a changeup. And your arm still continues to grow until you're in your mid-20s. So those are the things we try to teach our guys. They do throw harder. We understand they're bigger and they're stronger, but we try to give them the proper arm care and make sure that they understand what to throw, what not to throw, and what not to depend on to avoid those type of arm injuries.
Well, you also have, pitchers that are just pure flame, like somebody like a Randy Johnson. And then you got pitchers that are just cerebral, like Greg Maddux.
Correct.
I mean, he's a pitcher by definition that he doesn't have to throw hard. He just has to throw it where you're not going to hit it. And he had an amazing ability to do that.
He had amazing control.
One of the best pitchers, hated when he was on the Braves, didn't mind him as much when he was on the Cubs. But he was somebody who can control a game with his knowledge of his ability to pitch, and he didn't have to blow anybody away with speed. He was a wily pitcher, as opposed to some people like Randy Johnson, where, if you're in the batter's box, you're just closing your eyes and swinging because, either you're going to make contact and the ball's going to still be in orbit, or it's going to blow past you and your hair's going to part with the breeze. So there's two schools to that, I suppose, as well.
There's two schools to that, but, it took Randy some time to learn how to pitch.
Right.
Randy was a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Once he learned how to pitch, then he became the Hall of Fame Randy Johnson we all saw.
Yeah.
If he didn't learn that part, I honestly don't think he would have been where he's at now.
Right.
And that's the thing we try to teach our players, and that's the part where I see is a huge obstacle with pitchers today. The people that are teaching them don't know the proper way to teach them on how to be a pitcher. Just throw hard.
Right. And you've got to encourage these kids that everything's not about, throwing 100 miles an hour and knocking over the mascot and back of the catcher. Right. It's, like as you said, if the ball doesn't go over the plate, they're not doing anybody any good.
Well, there's two things about it. If it doesn't go over the plate, it's a ball.
Right.
The hitter's not going to swing at it.
Right.
And if it's right in the strike zone, a hitter's going to knock it out of the ballpark. Because all these hitters can hit a fastball.
Yeah.
It's the off-speed stuff that they can't hit. So 100-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle, the guy's going to hit 115 out of the ballpark. So it's basic common sense stuff that we try to teach them that sometimes gets a little more complicated for them.
You know, to follow up on one of Blake's points, the young players that are just so determined to throw as hard as they can, do they tend to burn out or hurt themselves a lot more than somebody who's a little bit more easygoing on it?
I do believe so.
Yeah.
They do burn out.
Yeah.
This is a game where you have to be patient. It's a cerebral game.
Absolutely.
So if you want this to be now, it's probably not going to happen. You got to trust the process and grow and develop into what you're going to be.
And that takes time. And again, the patience is key. And the mentoring, I would think that a lot of these young men need a solid mentor to keep them focused and to slow them down at times. Because I'm sure, they're young, they're excited, they're talented, they see great things in their future, and they all want to be there now.
Right.
And, they may not get there now. They may get there eventually, but they've got to, have somebody be a Jiminy Cricket in their ear saying, you got to relax a little bit. We'll get you there, but don't hurt yourself and, do it the right way.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yeah. And I do wonder what the young players growing up right now, like, do most of them understand like the history of baseball? Like, do they go back and appreciate the Jackie Robinson, the Negro League, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, did Duke Snyder, like, did they recognize like any of those players, or are they more focused on like the modern day players like a Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout?
I think majority are stuck in the now.
right, as opposed to the history of the game.
I think that's a big issue we have that MLB needs to capitalize on. I mean, we try to, but we do that with our players. And I think it's important for them to understand the history of the game.
Right.
Respect it. And that's the part where sometimes I see a lot of players don't. I mean, there's players that had no idea who Ted Williams was.
Wow.
When you see that, or even a Roberto Clemente,
Wow.
that breaks my heart.
I think so.
Because these are the guys that paved the way for what we have today. So it's important for players to understand the past so you can better understand what you got to do moving into the future.
Yeah.
And we don't see that. We see that with some guys, but not a lot. That's kind of the tough part for me, where I try to explain, and in my case, when I talk to my guys, we do talk about history. We talk about players in the past. We talk about what it takes to be there and what it takes to make it. And so I always use examples. I use examples of players that I've known growing up, including my dad, and they appreciate it, and it's good to see, but it needs to be taught.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely like stuff like the Field Dreams game, the game at Ricketts Field, like those games definitely help like casual fans that might be watching on Fox like for like Saturday Night Baseball. I'd like to get like an understanding of like this game means a whole lot more than just throwing a pitch or swinging a bat. So like there's history behind like the place that we're standing on. So it definitely is like important for MLB to teach the history as well, while still showing off the stars of today.
Right. No, it really is. I mean, you talk about the Ricketts Field, and we talk about that. I was there just for a trip. I went there for a SWAC tournament, and I went and I saw the field, and I walked around, and I just took it all in.
Right.
And it's a place that I was like, I think my grandfather played there. And when you look at the field, and they took me to the back end of the center field is like 500 feet. You never see a field that big again.
They're making them smaller and smaller. They're bringing fences in to get the excitement up.
And these are fields that these guys just hit bombs out of.
Yeah. And we'll say the most important thing that came out of the Ricketts Field game was it was Reggie Jackson. He was interviewed by MLB on Fox, and you got to go back and listen to like the story that he tells about how he felt about coming back to Ricketts Field because like the commentators were like, if this is a great experience to understand history, but for like Reggie Jackson, it wasn't a happy trip for him to come to because of what it represents for him to be in the minor leagues in in the South at the
Right.
time to for him from growing up to be. Oh, sorry, I meant to say a Rickwood Field. Did I say Ricketts or?
Yeah,
Ricketts, yeah.
Rickwood.
Okay, my apologies there, but yes, but so after the same, go look up Reggie Jackson's interview with Fox at that game.
Oh, there was a lot of pain.
Yeah,
He went through a lot, especially down south. It was one of the things that
Oh,
was,
yeah.
you know, you're talking about that era of the 60s. It wasn't the most pleasant time in the southern states and for any players that were of color,
yeah.
you know, so
And slowly, some of the white players helped broker that transition to help their black teammates get through that. But it took a long time, and it was a lot of courage on the white players and a lot of patience on the black players. You know, I can't even imagine how that would have been and how that went down, unfortunately. And it's just a sad time in our history. But we're working through it still, but we're getting there.
we are.
So, yeah. You know, and it's interesting. We talked about community and a couple other things, and I just took a quick look. There are so many players who did something that was selfless and positive that took time out of the prime of their baseball careers to go fight in World War II.
Correct.
You know, and it's you could make an all-star team out of World War II veterans when you're talking about Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Bob Feller, Hank Greenberg, Stan Musial, Yogi Berra, Warren Spahn, Jackie Robinson, Phil Rizzuto on Pee Wee Wease. They brought their own double play team.
Yep.
Johnny Mize and Ralph Kiner, you know, and they missed 2, 3, 4 major league seasons, you know, and that was when they were young and in their prime, and it was, you know, a wonderful thing they did for the country. It was patriotic, it was selfless, and then they came back and still played baseball and
Correct.
did pretty well for themselves. So that was pretty
That
interesting.
was an impressive time.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Very
that was,
impressive.
you know, the understanding of country and sacrifice, you know, was, I don't want to say went deeper then, but it seems to have. But it was also, you didn't have instant news feeds. You didn't have people reporting on, you know, somebody who went out to dinner with somebody who may have been their friend or may not have been there. You know, it's everything is live and in person nowadays, and
Well, there
there's
was
no
a lot
privacy.
of respect back
Yeah.
then, too. That's another thing. There's the respect, and there was respect for your country, respect for your family, respect for sacrifices that you've made. That today's world, it's a little tougher to see.
Yeah.
Who knew? And I just slid over to ball players who went to Vietnam, and it's, you know, they went on a USO tour, which was interesting because that was Hank Aaron, Harmon Killebrew, Brooke Robinson, Sam Musial, and Joe Torre did a morale boosting tour in 1966 to Vietnam. But, you know, you got Nolan Ryan, spent 6 months in the Army Reserve. He probably played baseball. Tom Seaver was in the Marines for a year and served in the reserves during the war era. Gary Maddox, I remember him in his San Diego Padres uniform of ugliness. Not him. He was a fabulous person, but man, those mustard
was
uniforms
some
from the
really
Padres
bad
were,
uniforms.
you know, only right up there with the Pittsburgh Pirates hats.
I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. Why are you touching me, man?
You try to be a Cincinnati Reds fan. You know damn well you're Pirates all over the place.
No.
I
Just-
got that hat.
Just
No.
the Steelers?
I
Yeah.
got that hat at home.
I know,
Love
right?
that hat.
What, just the Steelers? You're bailing on Pittsburgh for the...
Steelers and Penguins.
Oh, fine. So you're cutting your losses at the Pirates.
I don't agree with the Pirates.
I don't know. I took them as a futures bet to win the World Series this year. It's good money. Yeah, they're putting together a hell of a little pitching staff right now
Still
in
think
Pittsburgh.
Kutch got it?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, you know, hey, you know, even after he cut his hair, Andrew McCutcheon is still one of my wife's favorite players.
Oh yeah.
Well, she liked the dreadlocks, but
He was
anyway,
great. He was a good ball player.
he really was. When his prime, he was fabulous, and he's still fighting it out. I mean, it's Andrew.
Yeah.
Take a breath, because you know it's not. And the sad thing is for the Pirates, they didn't have anybody to replace him with. That's
Right,
why he's still
no,
out there
I
and trotting
know.
out there.
Crazy.
That's the sadder part, unfortunately for him. All right, you brought up family. Let's morph a little bit because you really do come from a family of baseball royalty. You know, your grandfather was a ball player. Tell me a little bit about him because I did a little looking.
So my grandfather was a pitcher. He pitched for the New York Cubans. He did, I think, close to 20 years in the Negro Leagues.
26 to 48.
And he was probably one of the best left-handed pitchers during that time. Very deceptive pitcher. Completely different from my dad for a while. My dad was more of a power pitcher, but he played with he played with a lot of the all-time greats in the Negro Leagues, and he just wasn't fortunate enough to break that color line and get into the big leagues. But,
His career ended a little bit before the
Right
before the
before,
transition because he stopped playing in 48, and what was it, 52 for Jackie Robinson?
So,
Yeah, so he just sort of missed that, unfortunately. However, your father, fabulous ball player, fabulous pitcher.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and you know what? And I say this with all love and respect, absolutely adorable. When I met him, because I met your dad, a couple years ago.
That's a great way of saying it.
And he really was. Look, your father smiles and he beams. He really does. He lights up a room. His smile lights up the room. It was really, Dan, I have to say, an absolute honor to meet your father and your mother as well. Lovely couple. And it was just, there was a little bit of reverence in me when I met him because of how good a ball player he was. 19 seasons, 49 shutouts, 2,416 strikeouts, career ERA of 3.30, 187 complete games. Tell a pitcher today what a complete game is, and they'll look at you like, excuse me?
They have no clue.
I have to pitch 9 innings?
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness. And he pitched 3,486 and a third innings. So that .3 gets you every time. All-Star 3 times. He led the AL in ERA twice, in 1968 and 1972. Once with Cleveland and once with Boston. So now, how are we getting your father into the Hall of Fame? For crying out loud.
Oh,
how does this
gosh.
campaign start here?
That campaign's been going on for years.
Well, we're not stopping.
One thing he said was, and it sticks with us, is he does not want to get inducted if he passed.
No.
And the year he passed, he was eligible on the Hall of Fame ballot.
Veterans Committee, yeah.
Yep. And to me, it was the biggest disrespect, the amount of votes he got the year he passed. And he was, waiting for it. We were prepared if he did get in that I was going to go ahead and do the speech and everything. My mom ended up saying that if he doesn't go in that year, that she's like, I'm up. He deserves to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I agree.
But it's one of those things that I'm not going to say pleading for it. We're not. But it's frustrating to see that players of his caliber that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Right. He's deserving by every metric.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's one of those things that there's a lot of players that are deserving, but it gets into this comparing game. Well, if he's in, then why isn't he in? If he's not in, then he shouldn't. His numbers are there. And the thing is really just, I think, campaigning for it and keep pushing for it. The problem is it's such a political game. And a lot of the veterans, you really wonder how much attention they pay to the ballots when they get them and decide who they're voting in. It really has gotten very political where I'm not going to say I've lost hope. I know at some point he will get in, but it's one of those things that something needs to change within the Hall of Fame voting committee.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it will, and sooner than later. But we can take solace in the fact that your father is in the baseball reliquary, which is it's not an alternate Hall of Fame, but it takes into more metrics. There's something called the baseball reliquary, which has been around since 2012.
Okay.
They have a permanent home now in Whittier College in Whittier, California. It's been floating around for a while. And they have a Hall of Fame. Your father is in the Shrine of the Immortals there.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, look it up. The baseball reliquary. He was in, and I forget what year it was. I don't know if he was in 2012 or it started in 2012. But it's fascinating because it's not just ball players. It's people through baseball who have had impact in other ways. And you brought it up yourself. You said, what your father meant to Boston and to New England. And, those are the intangibles that the Hall of Fame voters really should be considering as well as on-field metrics.
Correct.
Because that's, where fans come from. How did this man impact my life? You know, you live and die with a ball player. You know, we all have. We all have a favorite ball player. We all have a favorite team. If they're up, we're up. If they're down, we're down. And, you know, what your father did for the New England area, and I'm sure what he did for Cleveland while he was there as well, but definitely the Boston area when he played for them, you know, he was a man about town, and he was something that kids looked up to. People relied on him, and he came through for them. He really certainly did. But yeah, the baseball reliquary is great because it considers all the inductees' attributes. I mean, there are some fans in there, you know, and it's the type of thing where, you know, half the time I see a squirrel and I'm gone on 15 different rabbit holes and tangents. I mean, you know, one of the women is a woman who is the best Brooklyn Dodgers fan forever, who would sit there and scream at the top of her lungs to the point that, you know, when she had a problem after her heart attack, you know, her doctor said, you can't, and I can get that woman's name again, but you can't necessarily shout anymore because it's bad for your heart. So she bought a cast iron pan and a spoon, and she would just whack that during the game. People knew she was there. People knew this woman was there. And she was great. And, you know, and the thing that broke her heart is the Dodgers moved to California and she wasn't going. So that's sort of tough there. But I think that's great. Yeah, the baseball reliquary and being in the Shrine of the Immortals is, you know, it's not a Marvel movie. It's not a DC movie. It's something well above that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a long list of people. And they only put in one a year.
Really?
So, yep, that's the way it looked. They were there. You know, I went down it and it was done by the year and Dad was there. And I got a real good feeling about that one too as well. What else? So you only handle baseball. You don't broker into any other players?
I only handle baseball.
Okay.
I'm certified for baseball by MLBPA. I have friends in the NFL, and so with them, I'll just probably refer them to players that I know because I have contacts everywhere. Mm-hmm. So even like with St. Augustine High School, we had a great football team here.
Yeah.
So a lot of those kids, you know, I've gotten to know them a lot through my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so I'll just take notes, and I'll call my buddies who are both NFL agents and be like, "Hey,
keep your eye on this kid."
Keep your eye on these kids.
Absolutely.
So that's the only way I'll help in another sport, but it doesn't go beyond that.
So were you a ball player growing up?
I was.
And?
I was. I played baseball and football.
Okay. Well, you're built like a football player.
Yeah. Call me fat.
No, I'm calling you solid, brother. I'm calling you solid.
No, I played both. I played both in high school. I got recruited in both. I just wasn't big enough for football at the position I played. I was an outside linebacker, which in today's world, I would fit it, but I wasn't as fast.
Right.
But I did play baseball, and I played at UCF, and then I transferred back up to Bridgewater State in Massachusetts. But I did
like the cold weather.
I like the cold. I was homesick, even though my parents lived here. But I was with UCF. I ended up playing in the Dodgers organization.
Okay.
For 1 year in the Dominican Summer League. I ended up having some injuries. I kind of backed out, and then went back to a Division III school in Bridgewater. Then I had a couple open tryouts after that. But I got the heart-to-heart talk from my dad, and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "if you're not above a certain level at a certain age," he goes, "you might want to look into just going to the real world."
Wow, that's tough love, man.
Yeah.
Good job, Dad.
But that's how he was, and that's how we talked, and I ended up going into strength and conditioning after that, as far as coaching players.
Well, all is not lost for the Tiant family because, you know, talent doesn't necessarily skip a generation. You were just a little too light for football. Well, I'm being polite, Dan, because we love you. But your daughter Gia is a talented athlete and a two-way player, right? She is.
She placed 6th in the state, Florida, for weightlifting
at
St. Augustine High.
Yeah.
Her senior year. She's played 4 years of softball, and she was also a student athletic trainer for 3 of those years. She did 3 years of weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And right now she's a freshman in college playing softball. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
She's an athlete. She's a She's a special girl for sure.
Yeah, well, she comes from good stock, man.
Yeah.
You know, both you and Courtney and her grandparents and her great grandfather. I mean, it's a family legacy.
It is.
It's great to know. You know, she's staying in the family business for the time being.
She loves it. She loves playing the game. She loves wearing number 23, so she wants to keep that in the family. And she feeds off of that, which is awesome. And just, we'll see where this takes her.
It's great that she appreciates her history and her lineage, because so many people don't. So now you're dealing, and the market is changing around you very, very rapidly, I would think, with the amount of money that's coming into it, the eyes that are on everything, as far as, is this kid going to do it or not do it? Do your younger kids or your more established, MLB players, do they still have fun in the game? Do they still enjoy it, or is it work and business and the pressure of the dollars too much, or can they still really enjoy playing baseball?
It's they can have fun. I think the pressure is not just them, but the pressure is everything around them. Everything is just, it's under a microscope. So for kids that are in high school, any of our players that we advise right now, they're being seen, and everything's from like, what's their velo, what's their spin rate, what's going on, are they a big leaguer? They don't allow them to be kids as much. Mm-hmm. So I think that part's diminishing. There's fun, but not like it used to be.
Right.
With the kids and pros that we have, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
There's so many players, and every year the draft, and even with us cutting the draft down to 20 rounds, so many kids. So opening up the independent leagues, it's even more teams, is helped where they are allowed to keep their dream alive and then hopefully get picked up from there, which is one thing I like. It gives them another opportunity. You got released, you got released. Now you're playing in an indie ball league, or you might go to Mexico and play. You can get picked up again. So there's hope for that. And I tell my players, you're not going to get the big league. It's not going to be a direct path from high school to bigs or high school to college to bigs. Because now there's turns here, turns there, obstacles there. You'll get released because they got a new class coming in the next year. So there is fun. They enjoy themselves, but there's a lot of pressure behind it. So, that's another thing I try to do with them is kind of keep them loose and let them know to keep their mind open, keep doing what they're doing. But if it doesn't work out this particular way, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Let's take you to the independent league for a year.
The Long Island Ducks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Something might spark up there. Before you know it, it's like I tell some of these guys, you get released in A ball or double A. You play 1 year of indie ball, and you do great. The next year, you might be in triple A or big leagues, just by the numbers you put up. So you've skipped 2 levels. And so I try to tell these kids to have fun and enjoy what they're doing. But it's a business, and the pressure's gotten a lot stronger than before, I think.
One of our stalwart listeners has a question of, how do you deal with the parents of these kids?
That's
Thank you,
another
Bobby.
good question. I'm very honest with them. I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm very honest with them. I think parents sometimes can praise their kid being the next greatest player, and you have to be truthful.
Right.
And that's one thing I try to do. I'm very honest with them. It's the player's talent. On our end, is what can we do to help them so they can focus more on playing. But not every kid that picks up a bat is going to be the next, Mickey Mantle.
Right.
And so that's the part we try to bring them back down to earth, because they could be good. They could be good in this region. Then when they go to another region,
Right.
they're probably third or fourth best. Different levels. So we try to keep that very, very open-minded with them and very honest. Their kids are talented. We understand that. But once you go another level and you go to high school to college, there's going to be 10 more kids in that school that are just as good or better. So that's one of the biggest obstacles we have with parents. It's for them are they going to be able to accept it or not?
Right. Do you find that do you run into parents that are still trying to live their field of dreams, that
Always.
they were ball players, so their kid's going to be a ball player, whether the kid
Always.
wants to or not, or has the talent?
Always.
Yeah. I could see that being an issue.
It's a big issue.
Yeah.
It's a big issue. I mean, I just I deal with it. I talk to them, and if they want to listen, they want to listen. If they don't,
Right.
And we lose players because of that sometimes, because sometimes the parents are like, well, go to this agent because he's promising you the world. Well,
Right.
that's dangerous.
Right.
You don't ever want to promise the world to any of these kids. You know, what I promise them is I'll do my best job, to the best of my ability, and what they can do. But when you have agents, and there's a lot of agents like, well, we can get you here, we can do this, we'll get you to big leagues because no, that's all BS.
Right.
That's all BS.
And it's, and it's not fair to the kid too, because, if somebody, is investing, and I think it's more difficult in baseball than even in football, because football, you have college that can wean out a bunch of the kids that aren't going to necessarily make it into the pros. But in baseball, they're drafting high school players. They are drafting out of college as well. But if you're making your name in high school ball, you're going to get drafted.
Right.
And then you've got a decision to make. Do you want to play baseball or do you want to go to college? And they're not mutually exclusive necessarily, but you could put your career back 2 or 3 or 4 years if you're going to play college ball. And, some people are salivating about the money, and some people are smart enough to take the education and realize that, unless they're a 5-tool player and the path is wide open, there's no guarantees.
Right.
And I'm not even talking about injuries or anything of that nature.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I mean, and we do it. I don't ever want to tell high school kids go draft. But the way the opportunities are now, and the beauty of it though too is that these kids are still getting their college education because it is part of their contracts.
Okay.
But
explain that, please.
Basically, a lot of kids have the opportunity to put that into their contracts, which I try to put that into everybody's contract, that they can still have a college degree, college education. So the teams will give you that kind of money of what your college degree might be, where you're going to go. You try to focus it in the state that you're in. So basically, if a kid's in Florida, but he had a full ride to, say, Alabama, he's going to be able to get a college degree with tuition given to him for Florida.
Now, would that be simultaneous to him playing like A ball or something like that, or would that be for after the fact?
That's for whenever they want to.
Okay.
I've had kids that in summertime are going to school.
Sure.
Yeah. And I've had players that 30 years old are probably going to hang it up, and they still have their ability to go. So,
which is great.
Yeah. So,
good, because
you have a time frame.
Yeah. Well,
it's still fairly new, I think, what I've seen, but there's a time frame too where you can get your degree.
I mean, that would help somebody necessarily make the decision. Well, I really want to go to college, but I've got this ability. I don't know how long my talent's going to last, so I may as well strike while the iron is hot. And if they get a contract that will provide for them that college education, either in the summers or after their playing days are done, that's fabulous.
It is.
Really is.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime.
Right. For
to
sure.
get drafted.
Yes.
I think every young boy wants to get drafted.
I was never good. That was a dream that was not in my on my vision board by any stretch of the imagination. Unfortunately,
but you do when you want to pass that up. I understand going to college. And my dad, that was his biggest thing with me: get your college degree. With that being said, I was able to go back and finally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's players that they'll say, I'm going to go to college. And guess what? College, they fizzle out. They don't get drafted anymore.
Right.
Because you still have multiple opportunities after that freshman year. But if you don't put the numbers up and you start slipping in college.
Better get to class.
So that's the part you have to gauge.
Yeah.
Are you going to get drafted? Do you want to get drafted in the first 5 rounds and get some good money? College is still there. Or do you want to go to college and take a gamble? Because it is a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that we have to have long, serious talks with the players and their parents. And then we'll figure it out and make the decision afterwards. And then if they say we want to go in the draft, we'll go in the draft.
I want to swing back to your dad for a second. And when he was playing ball, because I know that, in the 50s and even into the 60s for the most part, contracts weren't necessarily making you wealthy. They were putting food on the table for sure.
Right.
And you were getting some money out of the deal. But did your dad have off-season? Did he work in the off-season?
Played winter ball.
So he played straight through. Okay.
Played straight through.
Okay.
So he did 19 years in the big leagues. He had 25 pro.
Wow. Okay.
25 were in the winter ball. 24. 1 year, the Indians did not want him to play winter ball. So they gave him a job
Okay.
in the offseason.
All right.
And that ended up being his worst season, where he was 9-20 and 69. So he goes, you know what? Take the job. I'm going back to playing winter ball.
Okay. So he kept and he played straight through. So he was playing baseball pretty much 10, 11 months, 12 months a year.
He didn't stop.
So, and it didn't slow down his physicality. He didn't get hurt.
Stronger.
Good. See, that's it. That's great. Because I remember, guys would be selling suits or be car salesmen or selling insurance in the off season for the most part to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So unless you were lucky enough to hit the bullseye and win a suit, then you didn't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
That's when baseball was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Target baseball, for crying out loud.
No, he worked. He played all year long.
Okay.
That was his thing.
Great. Well, Dan, thanks for coming in so very much. Really, I enjoy you as a friend, but we enjoyed learning about what you do and the behind the scenes stuff in baseball, how these young people need to be protected and mentored as well as just thrown out there for their talent. And it's really good that you treat the whole person, not just the arm or the bat. Right. And that really, I think, is very admirable on your part and very important for these young people that you mentor, or the major leaguers that are not such young people anymore. So that's really great. And Blake, got anything else for our handsome friend, Mr. Tiant? My glasses are open. I can't see
Yeah,
it.
sure. Yeah, sure. I do have to ask you because next month is the World Baseball Classic.
Yes.
I do have to ask, which country are you rooting for?
I always root for Mexico.
Okay.
That's where I was born. That's where my mom's from.
All right.
Mama Vega.
Yes. I mean, part of me is obviously Cuba because Dad, but it's not they don't put the best team out there.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
No, they really don't, because half the guys can't play. Now they're trying to allow Cuban players that are expatriates play on the team, but it's really the Cuban players that still stay in Cuba, so their level of play is not as good. But there's obviously a part of me is going to root for Cuba. Most of me roots for Mexico, and then I also got to root for USA. So for me, it's all three of those teams.
All right.
But Japan's always probably the best team because they're fundamentally sound.
100%.
Yep. And they got them big sticks that they whack together at the games, making all that noise. Right.
They are very fundamentally sound baseball. Yeah. They play the game the way it should be played.
Well, you just look at Shohei Ohtani, and the man's. I mean, he's a phenomenon. There's no doubt about it that he is. There is just something otherworldly about his abilities. Right. So I don't think anybody needs to try to become him, because if you can, you got your own ticket to ride anywhere you want on the planet. But he is just, for a while he was like, what's going on here? And then he is just amazing.
No, he is. He's one of a kind.
Yep. And a pleasure that we get to see him live and in person.
We do.
So we're living in a good time as far as that's concerned. Dan, thanks so very much for coming in. Really enjoyed the conversation.
All right. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming in. Really appreciate it so much.
Always good to see you guys.
Yep. Pleasure to have you. And, and rumor has it tomorrow, Blake and I will be joined by the other bearded fellow, and he'll probably be wearing a hat. So if the planes get where they're going on time,
they should.
We'll have Mr. Blevins Sr. back in the studio tomorrow. And until then, you get Amanda and Blake for breakfast, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much, and I get to push the red button?
You get to push the red button, Lenny. All right, thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye,
Bye-bye.